This is live, folks.
Speaking of health and safety, Darren just hit his head and dropped his mouse. It's been a long day. This is being recorded for your entertainment.
I love it.
What we did see last March, when Viking was actually the first cruise line to go out and announce the suspension of operations, we just saw that it wasn't going to be a safe environment. We also saw that this wasn't going to be an overnight, experience. So in true Viking fashion, we started looking around, reaching out, investing, and seeing how. First thing we've got to make sure is when we come back, we've got to be safe. It's got to be, it's got to be healthy. What can we do? And we've got amazing people working for our company. Our headquarters are over in Basel, Switzerland, for our operations folks and sales marketing over in Los Angeles here. So we came about, and how we came about, I have no idea. It's a mystery to all. But we came across this beautiful, lovely lady, retired Vice Admiral Dr. Bono. Now, Dr. Bono was a Vice Admiral in the Navy. She oversaw the health and safety issues. She was heavily involved in infectious diseases. Obviously, she had, through Pentagon and government connections and CDC relations and everything, she had the perfect resume for what we were looking for. And Dr. Bonner was brought on as a consultant initially, and but what we saw was you can't invest enough, in this program and in the health and safety. And so it was. So the next steps were, as we saw, as we saw further and further and further that COVID was extending, that Dr. Bonner was brought on as the industry's first chief health officer for any cruise line. No cruise line has what we have, and that's remarkable. I think it just speaks volumes. So Dr. Bonner has come on. She oversaw with her team the introduction of the Viking Health and Safety Program, working in conjunction with our head office in Basel. But also at the same time, though, we understand that we're a cruise line, right? We're a bit of a marketing machine as well. But what we are not, we're not health experts. We're not a health company. So it made sense that we invested further, and we forged these magnificent relationships, and in some cases even exclusive partnerships with some of the the world's best medical advice companies. Medicover, as you see here, Viking, Ecolab you see a lot, but Viking, I think, really is the one that really stands out, for the sheer fact that Viking is going to be that extension to Viking, working globally, working with local governments, national governments, local authorities. They're going to be the ones working with local laboratories. God forbid if anything does happen, they are going to be the company that's they are the experts at taking care of these issues, working in conjunction with our offices in Switzerland, who in turn work in conjunction with our offices in Los Angeles. And we know we are ready. We are ready. We've met. We've even set, as you see there with the DNVGL certification. This didn't exist until Viking came along. So we are actually setting standards that other cruise lines are going to have to abide by and follow. So much was invested in it. It's remarkable. It truly is remarkable. So we are ready. We're just waiting for governments, authorities, and that to open up. And as we see a return to cruising, we have to be prepared as to where the world is today, right? So, and as I mentioned earlier, we've opened a couple of ocean cruise itineraries up, and initially it will be for vaccinated guests. It's just the way the world is going to be initially. There's no getting about that. We honestly believe that the regulations are going to be driven by international governments and again, associations, even down to local governments, even by airlines. How are the airlines are going to be governed as well when we start flying internationally. So for the interim, yes, absolutely, there will be a change to your experience before, during, and after. The ability, obviously, to start medical testing questionnaires prior to you even leaving the country. on arrival in the foreign countries, again testing, before embarkation testing, during your cruise testing, and having those results brought to us on a daily basis. And the initial operations will be in a bubble, again, to minimize exposure to any elements and to increasing any risk factor. We're looking at the fact that we're probably going to be operating with approximately about 150 people on board, plus additional medical staff. And initially that we can only set what it is right now today, because so much can change tomorrow and the day after. So if we prepare for the worst case scenario, it only gets better from there.
Very good. I like that information.
It's something we keep updating on a regular basis, and if you are booked with us, you will be informed of situations, and it's just best to set it that way. And we understand it's a changed world, and some of us are not comfortable in this world that we're about to go into, and maybe some folks aren't vaccinated today or not planning on being vaccinated, or you just don't feel comfortable. And we understand and appreciate that. That's why we introduced our risk-free guarantee program, which we launched last year in March, to say to you, feel comfortable, feel fine, be prepared. If you're ready to cruise with us, then you're ready. If you're not, then we provide the opportunity then to change your mind, take those funds on that booking reservation that you have without any penalties to yourself, and take that as a certificate, or apply those funds to a already pre-booked reservation, and come back when you're comfortable, come back when you feel right within that 2-year period. And this has been really well accepted, and hopefully we don't need to use it, because hopefully everybody just can't wait to come cruise back again. So, and that's definitely what we've seen throughout, for sure.
And you know what I like about that, for those who do have a future cruise voucher, okay, currently, that if they have not decided what to do with it, to move forward, you can use it for any type of itinerary that Viking has. So it could be the river, it could be the ocean, it could be the America rivers. So you can use your vouchers for any of those. I love that.
Absolutely, and it's been very well received. I'm happy as a company. We're extremely happy to see that. Obviously, if you consider the suspensions that we've had to announce since last March through where we are now, from the end of June, close to 90% of those guests have opted for future cruise vouchers. So because everybody wants to travel again, right? We just can't wait.
Oh my goodness, yes.
It has been so well received. So yeah, it's been really good. It's good in a I can say positive and in a negative time, right?
So what would you say sets us apart from the others?
Beside myself.
I love it, of course.
There we go. Again, I think really what to your point, I think as I started off the history, right, the story of when I started, what we had 11 river ships in our fleet. Not all of them were ours. And at that time, we were sharing markets between Europe and North America. It was all very, very messy, to be very honest with you. But then we focused, and then we saw that primarily we have to focus on the North American market, US and Canada. Today, 90% of our guests are from US and Canada, and then the remaining 10% come from the other 2 English markets that we have in the UK, as well as in Australia and New Zealand. So we provide this English speaking, very how can I say, very. When we look at interest, everybody's of the same interest. We bring guests together with common interests, and it has been fabulous, and it was fabulous just to do that within the river realm, right, of the rivers. But we had guests who were saying to us back in 2012, 13, I don't just river cruise. So folks were sailing with us 1 year and then going to ocean cruise with somebody else, and maybe come back the year later. And we heard so often from our guests, I ocean cruise too. When's Viking going to ocean cruise? I'm Mr. Hagen, as I alluded to. I used to head up Royal Viking lines back in the day. And, so he had this burn in his belly to get back into ocean cruising. So, 2013, we announced we would be into ocean cruising. And, so after making the success and becoming this household brand name in river cruising, expanded in 2015 with the introduction of the Viking Star into ocean cruising. And since then, that fleet has grown to 9 ships. And then obviously, and then at the end of 2019, what else is hot in the industry? And when's Viking going to start doing expedition cruising? No worries. We'll see after that as well. We'll start cruising ocean and expedition cruising with 2 amazing vessels starting in 2022, sailing Arctic, Antarctic, and the Great Lakes of North America. And then the last bit of the puzzle, I believe, was the question I've been asked for a good 7 years of the 10 years I've been with the company is, when is Viking coming to the United States? When is Viking going to start doing domestic river cruising? So in the midst of everything negative around about last April, when everything about us was falling down, we were finally able, after so many years of working hard to achieve it, we made the very exciting announcement that we would indeed be starting domestic river cruising here in the United States starting next year as well. And we're going to look at that in the presentation. So it does set us apart that no other cruise line is able to offer you so many options of cruising and experiences, to the fact of river cruising globally, ocean cruising globally, expedition cruising, Arctic, Antarctic, Great Lakes of North America, as well as domestic cruising. Nobody else can do that for you. And I think really that's what sets us apart as far as product, as a brand is concerned. It really does. It really does, yeah. And it's not just in the different examples of experiences that we differ. We differ in the product as well. We differ in the guests that we join us. And I think maybe for those joining us this evening, who maybe not yet cruise with us, or those who have and looking for different options, opportunities, we do differ from some of the brands out there. And I think it's very important. I think, Vicky, that one of the most important factors for me in my role as the company, in supporting you, our travel partners, right, ensuring that your agency, your advisors are aware of what our brand is before promoting it to their clients, right, to the guests on board on the presentation this evening, is that not all sizes fit all. And we have to ensure that we are placing the right client on the right product. And I'm saying that as a travel advisor. And I think if we are not the right fit for that product, the worst thing that we can do as travel advisors to our clients is put the client on the wrong product. And so we go a long way to ensure that telling you, both the advisors and the guests and the clients, to say, this is who we are. This is not what we do. And this is not what we have. And this is not what you'll experience. And immediately you'll say, well, that's not for me. Thank you so much. I'm going to go to brand X, Y, and Z. And we'll say, absolutely correct. We understand that. We appreciate it. I'm glad you found a brand that suits you and not what Viking doesn't offer.
Well, I actually like this list that we have here. It speaks volumes, to be quite honest, and it's so true to value. That hits a lot of people who are looking for that experience where they want a very tranquil, peaceful trip. Okay, so this, I believe, is something that can target those who are looking for that type of experience too.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And it's all a little tongue in cheek, isn't it? It's no, we're very cheeky and saying no, no, no. But I think one of the most defining things on that list is that we are the only adult-only river cruise experience that you can have. booking out of brands of the United States and North America. And so, 18 is the minimum. It didn't used to be that until we introduced ocean cruising. And as it is now, no exceptions are made. And you have to be 18 at time of sailing. So immediately, you're going to have an adult only experience. Not really much for rivers, no casinos. That goes more towards our ocean vessels and such. But it does set the scene. It continues to say what we don't charge for, what we do, and I think it does. It definitely sets the scene and the expectations. So you're not disappointed when you get on board, or sometimes folks are disappointed when they're trying to make bookings for family groups, and there's one 15-year-old in that group, and we have to say no to that group, maybe a 5 or 6. I'm not speaking from experience here, of because there was a 15-year-old in that group, and the company rather says, I'm sorry, but no, we're not making exceptions. So standing true to our brand message, I think is very, very important.
Mm-hmm. Very good. I like it. So since we're focusing on our rivers, why don't you just give us some ideas and some of your popular itineraries?
Absolutely, absolutely, indeed. Legendary Rivers, right? That's that wonderful partnership that we have with Expedia Cruise Ship Centers. Traditionally, this time of the year, so that's why we're all together today on this presentation, to bring focus to the river element. And what you're looking at here is the river world of Viking. And while it is expansive and it looks global, as you see, some of those inserts, what you will notice is that concentration of ports there in Central Europe, right? So when we look at the river cruise element and destination and deployment, as we would say, you are looking at Central Europe, you're looking at the rivers of the Rhine, you're looking at the River Danube, of course. We can go west from there into France with several itineraries in France, moving all the way west to Portugal, and we're going to look at a couple of these more popular itineraries in a little more detail in slides coming. Looking at Portugal, which is a great example of something we call a cruise tour. And a cruise tour is a combination of both land and cruising put together in a single experience. We're not talking about pre and post extensions. We're talking about a single entity. So Portugal will be an example that we'll look at a little bit closer here. Going back to Central Europe and looking then a bit further east, being able to cruise the Danube from Budapest all the way almost to the Black Sea, right? Taking that passage through Eastern Europe, sailing on the Dnieper River in Ukraine. We already mentioned the history of the company, where we started in St. Petersburg. So we have our operations office in St. Petersburg, Russia, for traveling from St. Petersburg to Moscow. And then we have those 2 inserts there for the more adventurous among us, right? Those who are looking for a little more to our river cruise experience. Both these examples are tour cruises, where we're going to be journeying and enjoying the land portion as well as the cruise portion. The first on top there is looking at the countries of Vietnam and Cambodia, and linking those 2 journeys together with sailing on the Mekong, where we have just built our brand new 80-passenger vessel to sail on the Mekong River, as well as the combination of touring in Vietnam and Cambodia. And then just below that, an itinerary that was probably the hottest commodity after we announced our return to Egypt, prior obviously to COVID and everything. And we didn't just announce our return to Egypt after we felt that the political situation, the safety aspect was, back to where we wanted it to be in Egypt, but we never felt that the ships were up to the Viking standard. So we invested again heavily in building new ships in Egypt, first of which had been completed. The ships 2 and 3, unfortunately, because of the global pandemic, both those 2 new ships have been delayed in delivery and building, understandable, of course. So there has been a bit of a suspension and delay to launching those vessels in 2022, but yet the demand just continues for Egypt. And I have a slide coming up for which is going to go into a little more detail on those 2. So as you can see, Europe primarily, but then also options in Asia as well as options in North Africa into Egypt as well.
One of my favorites here.
Oh, I never get tired of the Rhine. I really don't get tired. And I like to say, when you look at 8-day cruises, it is my favorite. I'm sorry to have favorite. You should never say that, but it truly is. It's remarkable. And Vicky, what I love about the itineraries that we have a series of 8-day itineraries, and these cruises are ideal, right, for maybe the first time river cruiser on the presentation today, who have not yet, delved into it and wanting to and looking forward to doing so. I think these 8-day itineraries are ideal, right? So you're not committing too much time to your cruise portion. We always, and I know you do as advisors as well, we always, promote the fact, go early, avoid the arrival of the day, get over the jet lag, enjoy a pre or post extension, whether it's through us or independently. Get there early, get to see the sounds and the scenes of the places we're cruising from. Get over the jet lag, I think it's ideal, so add a couple of days on. So you're looking maybe 10, 12 days, right? Ideal, really ideal. And 8 days, 4 countries. It's remarkable. And, while we say 4 countries, that's not to say, okay, we're going to enjoy German today, we're going to enjoy French tomorrow, we're going to enjoy even the regions through which we sail differ. And I think this whole thing about river cruising particularly that really attracted me to it and made me passionate about it was the fact that this cultural immersion that we speak about, right? Getting off the ship. 90% of your time in river cruising is spent off the ship. It's discovering the towns and the ports. That's why we offer included tours in every port, right? Special interest tours that we offer, which are additional costs, but they're optional and they're specialty interest. But you don't have to take those. You can just enjoy the complimentary inclusive tour in every port. And when you get off the ship, Vicky, you're rubbing shoulders with locals as they go about their daily business. You see them shopping. You see them picking up their kids from school. You see them in the restaurants. You sit next to them in the bars having a beer and speaking about sport and politics, just like we would at home. And I think that's the beauty of these itineraries that truly bring it to life,
Well, something else also, because, as some folks may not be aware, with the 3 most popular itineraries that we have, is that you can either begin in Amsterdam and go to Basel, or begin in Basel and go up to Amsterdam, which is pretty awesome. So it depends on, do you want to flow upwards or or float down? But the extensions I feel are what make it, because doesn't matter which location that you're going to start from, you can have an extension, so you can stay over 2 to 3 days prior to, depending what it's contracted. And Amsterdam, hands down, is beautiful. Just beautiful.
Couldn't agree with you more. The opportunity to linger longer, as you say, right? Arrive earlier, and the magnificence of the museums that we have. Because ultimately, when you look at the cruise section of that, you're there for a day, right? You're embarking. So it's not enough. It's really not enough on the embarking bar. One of the beauties of these itineraries, obviously, is to maximize the length of time we spend in port as much as we possibly can. Especially on a large city like a Cologne, for instance, early arrival in the morning, midnight departure, allowing us to go out and enjoy the beer culture of Cologne, right? And the culture.
Oh my gosh, yes, they have actually an activity with all the locals that you're able to participate. It's kind of like a big picnic, almost like a beer fest, to be very honest.
Absolutely right. So we get the smaller ports, but then the bigger cities, we want to make sure. And you can't forget about the scenic sailing, right? So on this itinerary, we have the Middle Rhine. So as the most beautiful sections of the river, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, having a program director narrate you as you sail through the beautiful valleys and look at the vineyards and the castles on the hillside and learn the history. you're not forgetting that the scenic sailing portion, and every itinerary brings that as well. So,
Mhm.
not to be left out, but yeah, the 8 days are wonderful and great for those.
Mhm.
And I think when we talk about river cruising, the Danube really comes forefront, right? Everybody seems to relate to the Danube sailing.
Yes.
And we have many options on the Danube, several options. And again, but the 8 day option is ideal. I think we're really pushing it tonight. And the favorite and the most popular 8 day on the Danube is the romantic Danube.
Mhm.
And when we say Danube, we say Budapest. We say Budapest, we say overnight. Because at the very least, you will be overnighting in the Hungarian capital to make sure that you get at least a snippet of what this magnificent city has to offer, right? So the romantic Danube absolutely cannot promote it enough, cannot say more about it. And we gave it a facelift. And I think this is going back to what I was saying about maximizing length of time in port. Someone on the presentation today may have done this in the past when they sailed from Nuremberg to Budapest or Budapest to
Mhm.
Nuremberg. But last year we made the decision to just shorten this itinerary a little bit and have it start and end in Regensburg. We start or end in Regensburg, close enough to Nuremberg where we can still do a tour and a trip, but have folks join us. Let's say if we're sailing from west to east, join us in Regensburg, have an entire day and enjoyment there. And as we then sail towards Hungary, through Germany, Passau, Austria, we get to the Austrian capital of Vienna. What we now do is arrive in the morning and we depart the evening the following day. We enjoy now 2 full days in Vienna with an overnight.
Mhm. And
Which
for
is
those who enjoy music, the sound of music, that is one of the excursions that you can do, an optional excursion that you can do, with that, and just phenomenal.
even we have the private performance that evening as well in one of the private residences. We have the Viennese Residence Orchestra join us with members of the Ballet Society and Orchestra and opera, and we have a magnificent night of classical cultural evening. It's really phenomenal, and that's what
Mhm.
Vienna is about. It truly is. So it was well received. We haven't really actioned it yet because of the situation we've been in, but everything
Mhm.
that we've had from everybody's been remarkable. So just to make another example of an 8 day itinerary,
Mhm.
but the flagship itinerary, the itinerary that is most popular, where we have the most ships, most guests, best value,
Mhm.
has to be hands down the Grand European. And it's something about these 2 week itineraries that are so popular with our guests and our clients. Again, those who can normally make the opportunity to stay away for 2 weeks or longer. That's what makes the Grand European so popular. And I don't have to go this day by day because if you've taken notes of the first two itineraries, this itinerary is basically a combination of both of those with an added segment in between to link them. Sailing from Amsterdam to Budapest, let's say, is an example in this direction, starting from the Dutch capital of Amsterdam. We're going to travel that northern Rhine section, right? So Amsterdam, Candidate, Cologne to Coblentz. Now, in the Rhine getaway, of course, that's where we continue south on the Rhine. For the Grand European, we take a little leave to the left, and then we enter into the Main River, take the romantic route, and we go through the Main River, Bamberg, Rothenburg, beautiful. And then we link into Main Danube Canal. You'll see then a city we just mentioned on the romantic Danube, the Nuremberg, the Regensburg, and all the way then onto Budapest. So it
Best of
really,
both worlds. I love it.
yeah, it's remarkable. It truly is, and I understand why it is our most popular cruise. It truly is
Mhm.
remarkable. Great way to see it. Yeah.
Mhm. Ah.
But it's not just, it's not just central, as I mentioned. We can enter into France, and just a country. This is quite unique. The fact that a single country hosts an itinerary, right? So, and France is actually offering us 4 different opportunities to enjoy river cruising in. And again, very popular. So if you've done the Rhine or the Danube, what we see is folks want to venture out again and try a different country. And France is definitely a great location for river cruising as well. And several itineraries to choose from. Look, starting in the northern sections of France, sailing on the Seine. Now, this is a Paris round trip itinerary, and round trip cruises in river cruising is actually very rare. It's usually A to B, as you've probably seen from the itineraries we looked at to date. But in this particular case, the Seine is rather a short river. It's truncated. There's a reason for us taking this itinerary because folks all get together in Paris, and again, those on the presentation maybe sailed with us in the past, or maybe wanted to book with us but weren't really happy about what Paris was all about. Great news for everyone. The ships that we had sailing on the Seine have been removed, have been replaced with brand new, what we're calling Seine ships. So it's our river ships that we're going to look at shortly. They've been shortened just by a mere 35 feet, allowing us now to dock in our very own brand new built docking facility in downtown Paris, just sheer minutes away from the Eiffel Tower. So we are no longer docking 20-25 minutes out of Paris in Le Pec. Will now be docking in brand new facilities in downtown Paris. So,
and I just think that is so awesome because I have heard of those that, it's a good bus trip, to get into, the Eiffel Tower, the Eiffel Tower there. So this, you just get right off the ship and you can walk right up to it.
We are back to where we were, I want to say 5 years ago, before we introduced the new ship. Exactly.
This is huge. I love this.
It is magnificent. The ships were brought in are even more hybrid. They're running under, whenever we dock, we're running under battery power. So we have charging stations at our docks in Paris. So, we're taking into consideration all these elements. So we are super excited. Cannot wait. This itinerary, as I said, the Seine is rather a shortest cruise. It's truncated as we would, making our way from Paris all the way north into Rouen. And in Rouen, we actually overnight, because the opportunity then is the next day is the reason why many folks come to sail on this cruise. It's going to give us the access to a long day, but to me, a most memorable day as we make our way out to the Normandy beaches. To visit the beaches, to visit the museum, to have the luncheon, and then it culminates in all the groups coming together at the World War II cemetery, and we have a wreath laying ceremony, and then you're able to wander, throughout this whole cemetery and reflect and look down as we make our way back to the ship. We stop at And when we stop at Omaha Beach, and you're looking up, and you just everything relives in your mind. And people, obviously folks have lost loved ones there back in the history, and it is a remarkable day. It's a long day. It's heartfelt, but it's a necessity. It truly is amazing, amazing.
Perfect.
It is, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in the south, we have another 8-day itinerary, Lyon and Provence. Now we're running down to the French countryside, right there. We're all very familiar with, and the culinary mecca that Lyon is in the southern Burgundy region, sailing the Rhone River now, either south-north or north-south. And what's remarkable, and what really struck me about sailing in this region, and when we look at ports, of course, such as Vienne or Vieille, we have this Roman influence, right? I mean, you can see how close the Italian border is to where we are, and you have this whole Roman influence in this region. And we're going to see the amphitheaters in for instance, in Arles, in Vienne, and the amphitheaters and the temples. Very much this whole nice, wonderful hybrid mix of French and Italian. It is a food mecca. It is a wine mecca. When we're in Lyon, as I said, we're in southern Burgundy there. So in the Beaujolais region, as we travel south in Tournon, we have this wonderful experience on a narrow gauge railway that Viking helps to with the upkeep and sponsors, a narrow gauge steam railway that takes us through the Ardèche, taking a steam train through the valleys and over the aqueduct viaducts and looking down the hillsides into the waterfalls. It's stunning. Get to the top. The locals all set up with their local goods and their baked goods and their honeys, and while the train actually goes on the little turntable to head back. It's just those little things. I'm sorry, but I go on about them. It is remarkable. It truly is. And
It sounds like it.
the wines of the Hermitage region. And then when we get to Avignon, the beautiful walled city of Avignon, the Palace of the Popes, and just east of there is the fantastic wine region again of Châteauneuf-du-Pape, some of the finest wines that come out of France. So it's remarkable. It really is a wonderful, wonderful combination. But why go to France twice when you can go to France once? And
France is famous. That's what we did.
Yeah, and that's the remarkable thing about it is you can do France's finest and combine both those itineraries together, exactly as we've just done it on a day by day, but now combining it to that 2 week. We always talk about that 15-day, 2 week period is ideal, and we see most popularity with our wonderful guests joining us on 2 week itineraries, taking both those itineraries south, north, south, doesn't matter which direction. And what we now do these days is where it used to be a motor coach ride and stopping off on the way in Dijon, we go now with our Viking representatives, leave our luggage. We take care of the luggage, and we take the TGV, a high-speed train system now between Lyon and Paris and Lyon. And, it cuts down the travel time tremendously.
Unbelievable.
I spoke about 300 kilometers an hour to you yesterday. So approximately running around about a train is going to take about 200 miles an hour, so to speak. It is remarkable. It's comfortable. We're going through the French countryside, and before you know it, you're making your way to your new ship, but on the same journey, taking in both.
Well, you know what? Before we leave France, tell me, because there are some of us, me included, they be interested. Do we have wine tours? Exclusive for that. So I would love to hear about, some of that.
Absolutely. For sure. I mean, I don't think there's an itinerary I could think of right now that will not incorporate wine, right? Or, or beer has become so popular today, right? So the elements of the wine and the spirit making is part of the experience on all our itineraries. You're correct. You'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy the, of course, the Calvados and the apple brandies when we're in northern France. I already went over the wine regions of southern France, of Burgundy, the Hermitage and the Châteauneuf-du-Pape regions. But if you are a wine lover and you say, my goodness, I'd love to take a river cruise, but all I want to do is experience wine, then without doubt, I mean, the title says what it is. I mean, there's no escaping it, right? It's the chateaus, it's the rivers, and it's wine. And this, again, it makes sense, right? That we're in France, and we are going to be enjoying another round trip, again, a rarity, but a round trip cruise, Bordeaux to Bordeaux on this magnificent cruise. It is probably, again, it's always difficult to choose favorites. This is a favorite of mine for the very reasons for what it is. As a wine lover myself, as a food lover, this is magnificent. This itinerary is very much unlike your traditionals that we've looked at with Bordeaux, with the Rhine and Danube and such, in the fact that we're not really going to see the history of the towns and the cities. We're not going to the cathedrals. We're not going to the monasteries. We're not going to the museums. We are visiting the chateaus. We are going to experience and see how the different wine regions are producing their wines along this famed region of Bordeaux, right? The East Bank, the West Bank. We're going to be going to the Chateau Margaux region. We're going to be going to Pomerol. We're going to be going to Pommard in Cadillac. We're going to be enjoying the Sauterne wines, right? Which are the dessert wines made from noble rot wines. In Bly, hands down, my most enjoyable experience with Viking was creating and crafting and blending my very own cognac. using the 4 blends of cognac together with a master blender at the house of Camus, which is the only French, still remaining French-owned, family-owned cognac house in France, is Camus, Camus. It was just an unbelievable experience. Saint-Emilion, of course, Pauillac, having the opportunity to take a day trip out to Arcachon, right there on the Atlantic coast, to taste some of the world's most amazing oysters, some of the most freshest seafood you will ever have. The opportunity to visit a premium growth Bordeaux at Chateau Kirwan, Kirwan. Chateau Kirwan hosts us for a tour at the end of the day. But they're not just hosting us for a tour, they're opening up their entertainment area to allow our chef, his brigade, and our entire service staff to come to the chateau to cater a dinner off the ship in the confines of this beautiful chateau. It's remarkable. It truly is remarkable. So,
I love that.
oh,
I have a silly question for you, though. For those who may be their first time hearing about Viking and all that it offers and the places that it goes to, all these wonderful itineraries. Let's say they do go out, when they do go out to, their ports to explore, all these wonderful locations, are they actually able to purchase that wine and bring it on board and try it there that evening, and or any cheeses or foods that they bring on board? What's the guidelines on that?
we encourage it. We say, buy it and bring it.
That's
For sure.
lovely.
We look at it again, the high inclusivity that we are, where we include our beer, wine, sodas. Absolutely, please do so. I do, we all do, right? So we're going through amazing fresh markets, right? So the most amazing cheeses. We're in France right now. Great cheese, a saucisson, the French sausage, the baguettes. Bring it back. Bring a bottle of Saint-Emilion, bring a bottle of Margaux, bring a bottle from Chateau Kirwan. Have it at your table. We don't have nonsense like corkage and things like that. I came up with a little saying that I kind of, little tagline, that there's no better time to taste the foods and wines of a region than while you're in those regions.
Mm-hmm.
So it all makes sense.
Very encouraging, instead of having to give it over to somebody else until your trip is done.
Nothing, no ways, nothing like that. Absolutely nothing. No, it really is. We're open now. If you're going to start walking through our lounge with a bottle of Grey Goose, somebody might ask a question. But for sure, when you're coming to dinner with your wines you've selected, and also remember, in speaking about that, and it's something I've done on a regular basis too. I just brought up Chateauneuf de Pape there just as an example, or any of the Bordeaux wineries. These folks are 100% used to having visitors join them, right? And that's why we're doing the wine tastings, and for them to tempt you, right, into purchasing makes sense. So the majority of the locations that we're visiting, whether it be on the wineries, whether it be the markets and shops, they can wrap it up and they can ship it back to the United States as well. So
very nice.
You get to enjoy both elements. So,
all right. What do you have next for us? This is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So
the Douro. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, we were talking about food and wine. I think this is another food and wine lover.
It is, yes.
It really brings the elements of that. But if you recall, Ricky, at the beginning when I was showing the map of world river cruising and Viking, and I started talking about the combination tours, right? The cruise tours, as I alluded to.
Exactly. That's why I wanted you to go a little bit more about, because I believe you had mentioned that's with Portugal for one of your cruise tours.
I did indeed. Oh my gosh! Look at the old traditional port boats here. These are ships that the Portuguese used to transport their barrels of port. You see in that image. So it just
yes,
speaks volumes there. And this is, as I alluded to now. This cruise map looks a little bit different to what we've been looking at, right? Mm-hmm. So, as I mentioned, the cruise tour experience is a combination of both land and cruise. These itineraries really allow us to experience locations and destinations that are not really close to the navigable rivers, but are most important to the region and are most definitely enjoyable, have enough history and culture for us to make a detour to include it as a land portion. So this this itinerary is a great example thereof, because we are going to start. Everybody is going to fly into Lisbon,
Mhm.
and we take up hotel residency there for 2 nights in Lisbon, taking in this magnificent Portuguese capital, familiarizing ourselves with the cultures and the signs, the scenes, and everything about what Portugal is within the Portuguese capital itself, while staying in hotel for 2 nights. And then on the third day, we board our wonderful motor coaches that are going to take us through a scenic drive through the Portuguese countryside. We break that drive off with a stop in Coimbra for a magnificent Portuguese country luncheon. Before then, a conclusion, making our way further north to Porto. And when we get to Porto, that's when we embark upon our ship. And that white circle indicates that we're going to be overnighting there in Porto on the ship itself. So it's not like we get in Porto and away we go. We have time to linger and get to enjoy the city of Porto itself.
So one of the most popular delicacies, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this in Portugal, is the pão de queijo, which is cheese
Absolutely.
bread. So when you greet someone in Portugal, you say bom dia, which means
Mhm.
hello, good day, good morning, basically. So it's always fun learning a little bit, of the lingo where you're going to, even if it's just a few words. They'll be like, oh, how to speak our language.
Obrigado, obrigado.
Obrigado, sí,
Too
también.
bad, too bad. Yeah, exactly, right? And that's the beauty of that. It truly is. And the Douro itself is a unique river. It's a lot narrower than what we've seen in other cruises. It's a lot bendier as well. The ship is different. We're going to look at the ship here shortly, but the ship is a little bit shorter itself. We keep that long ship element to it, but it is a little shorter vessel with less people on board. And this journey is going to take us through the Douro River all the way as we go to Vega Toron. And then in Vega Toron, what we do on arrival, or the next morning at least, we go on another land excursion, because we're going to make our way then to Salamanca, here in Western Spain, to the university town Salamanca. And we're going to enjoy an entire day now of Spanish cultural activities, all right? So we're going to get to know about Salamanca and everything in the Spanish region. We're going to experience and get to see flamenco dancing. We're going to eat magnificent paella, of course. So that entire day will be dedicated to Spanish culture. Before we make our way back to the ship that's waiting for us, board the vessel again, and then the cruise continues, sailing back on the Douro, but from east to west, but with different ports. We're not repeating the ports as we
I like that.
yeah, yeah. And then Porto will be the conclusion of the cruise tour itself.
Mm-hmm.
But you do see the little stripy line going north of Porto, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is indicating probably, I would say, a high percentage of folks joining us on the Douro River then sign up for the post-cruise experience, which takes them through Braga into Santiago de Compostela. And the most popular post-cruise extension. And that's why it's kind of featured on this map, just to give you an idea of location, taking us into northwestern Spain here. So a great example. Then just quickly, we looked at two insets, right? Inserts of itineraries, again, examples of cruise tour, a bit more adventurous, definitely out of Europe, of course. I mentioned the fact that Viking has just built its very own ship, 40 stateroom, 80 passenger vessels that are going to be enjoying cruising on the Mekong River in our magnificent Mekong itinerary. And again, this itinerary really shows you the essence of what this all brings to you. In this particular case, our itinerary will be from Ho Chi Minh to Hanoi, but it is available in opposite direction as well, of course. And you'll see that the fact that the the land portion of southern here in southern Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh, to Saibai, to go then onto the vessel, board the vessel in the southern Mekong Delta in Mai To, and then make our way north, sailing through several ports of call on the Mekong to Kampong, and then the little dotted lines ensure that we make a motor coach trip then from Kampong into Siem Reap. And Siem Reap, we know, is that platform, is that launch pad to give us access to Angkor Wat. So we are spending 2 nights in Siem Reap to ensure that we get sufficient time to discover the magnificence of Angkor Wat for what it is, this magnificent, beautiful UNESCO World Heritage Site of temples that it is. And then we take a flight then from Cambodia into Vietnam to our final port of call into Hanoi. So, again, a magnificent experience of, 2 countries, of cruising on a unique river and bringing that all together on the magnificent Mekong. And then I touched on the fact also for Egypt, we were the first ones to announce our return to Egypt. But again, we were not really happy with the quality of the vessels that we've been chartering. So in true Viking fashion, what's your alternative? Your alternative is to build your own ships. And again, 1 of 3 of those ships is now complete. And again, experiencing a magnificence in cruise tour experience with all the sights and the sounds. The Egyptian folks are just so happy to have us back. It is wonderful. The climate there was right for us to return, and then unfortunately COVID struck, right? But we are so excited to get folks back onto cruising and touring here in Egypt. The trip itself will be starting and ending in Cairo, spending a couple of nights in Cairo, of course, to take in the Egyptian capital before then flying down into Luxor, this is where we would join our ship and spend an overnight in Luxor before making our way before North Kenya on the Nile, all the way south then down into Aswan before making our way back north into Kenya, into Luxor again. And then that will give us access flying back into Cairo. And just east of Cairo, as you see on this image here, is probably, again, we speak about popular pre and post programs. This gives us access then to an Israel pre and post program that we have as well. Again, inclusion of Israel and Jordan being another option, of course. If you've been to see the pyramids in Luxor and the region, people love to have those bucket lists ticked off. And Petra, of course, with the famed library there is another bucket list item. So while you're in the region, it only makes sense, right, to extend your stay from this 12-day experience to go into Israel or into Jordan. So again, awesome. Cannot wait to get back. I just want to really touch quickly on the ships, on the Viking longships. We spoke about the Rhine, we spoke about the Danube. Now, France, we said we're a little bit, northern France was a little bit different. Literally what we did, we took the ship and we made it 30 feet shorter. That's all we did. These are the ships that are sailing in southern France. These are the ships that are sailing in Bordeaux. I spoke about Portugal. They are a little bit different to these ships, but we've kept the same module. So if you're sailing within Europe, you're sailing on a long ship, unique in their design. They revolutionized river cruising. There was nothing like this until we introduced these ships. The wonderful, unique square bow. The front of the ship is a square shape, again, unlike others, that allows us then to bring the sun deck all the way forward, providing us this wonderful alternate viewing and dining area on the active surface that you see in here. It allowed us to bring our public spaces further forward, and because we have 3 full decks, what you experience when you step onto a Viking vessel is the ceilings are much higher because you do have true 3 full decks there. That allowed us then to really contribute more options for categories. I think it's very important throughout the entire Viking fleet, whether we're on the rivers, the oceans, or new ships to come, is the opportunity for you, the guest and the client, to choose from a wide array of accommodations based on.
I can't wait to see those accommodations.
Whether you want to be, whatever accommodation you want to be in, I got that as a hint. Uh, the three decks that we do have, the lower deck, the middle, and the upper. Now, the lower decks, as you see imaged here, have those horizontal windows. Those are what we reference them as river view staterooms, for very good reason, because that is your view, it's the river. They are the only accommodations on the vessel that don't have a form of opening. They have this fixed, like, three-quarter window, right? And you go in and you're looking up into the river. But everything from the middle and upper decks, they have a form of opening, whether that be the sliding French doors, whether it will be the sit-out verandas, of which we have the majority, whether it be one of my favorites, which is the veranda suite, of which we have 7, or the 2 magnificent Explorer suites. Now we're looking at 440 square feet of the app. It's remarkable. They truly are. And the ships are identical, as I said. The names change, the destinations change. That's about it. We have this wonderful Scandinavian contemporary design about us. The use of light woods, metals, but glass is the major component, really allowing the natural light to filter in, right, wherever you may be on the ship. And again, that's a feeling that goes throughout the entire fleet. You want to join me here for dinner or sundowners, Vicky?
Anytime, any day.
Absolutely love the Aquavit Terrace. I confess, just before 2019, I had the opportunity to actually go on vacation. That's how much I love my brand. I went on vacation on my own brand. What do you do on 2 weeks?
Says a lot.
I go cruise on Viking, right? And we did the same, my wife and I, and it was during the summer months. And confession, we ate dinner on the Aquavit Terrace every single night. It was
spectacular
remarkable.
Views and great scenery. So
where else?
You can't go wrong.
It was just remarkable. As you can see by this, it's dedicated to your viewing and your dining pleasure without any obstructions or anything. So one of my favorite places on the ship to be. It truly, truly is. And I just chose this image, really, just to give an idea of accommodation. As I alluded to, there are multiple accommodations, from the standard, the French balcony, the verandas, and then we have these veranda suites, which I duly adore as well. Suite in definition is accommodation with 2 rooms. And here off the sitting room, as you would see, the sliding French door would open, and then you step out onto your sit-out veranda. Of the bedroom area there, you'd have the sliding French door, which is just like the French door, right? So it would be just like an al fresco feel. Oh my goodness, double sinks, heated floors, spacious showers, plenty of storage space.
Okay, you had me at heated floors.
Oh. For those who have sailed with us during the cooler months or are waiting to sail with us in the cooler months, these are just little touches. You won't see them mentioned anywhere.
Okay, now we kind of really need to tell them what we're talking about, heated floors. This is in the shower, okay, when you step out.
It is. It is indeed.
Not the entire floor of the suite.
Not the suite, just the bathroom. We're just talking about the bathroom.
Exactly.
Exactly. Oh, nothing better in winter, which my favorite time to cruise is, when you get March, April, or the Christmas markets, of course. Oh my gosh, you get up that shower and you just put your feet on the floor and it's warm, it's heat. Oh, it's wonderful. The non-fogging mirrors. It's just these little touches, right, that bring it all together. So, of course, I said multiple cash accommodations to choose from, as we spoke about. I just wanted to give you a feel of the essence of the furnishing of the vessel. Typical Scandinavian, it's straight lines, it's simplicity. And I think that's what I love about it the most, is the elegance and the simplicity put together. So.
Perfect.
Yep.
We got something coming up.
We do.
I think it's in my backyard, to be honest.
I think it's everybody's backyard. I'm assuming so. I know we had somebody from Jamaica originally who was now living in Florida, I believe. But yeah, this... Goodness me, we're finally there. That's all I can say, Vicky. We will finally be there.
So tell me about this, if you will. Tell me what's happening in North America.
Absolutely. Great excitement. As I said, the crazy world that we're living in, Viking, we finally got this announcement to make after years of research and putting it together. What would have been a huge celebration was just an announcement last April, and that we were finally approved, and that we were bringing this entire river cruise experience that I've gone over this evening to the United States, initially sailing on the Mississippi River with this magnificent vessel. So
Hmm.
my goodness, again, of the 10 or 11 years I've been with the company, I've never seen so much excitement. I've never seen sales like this, and hunger for a product like this. It's just been remarkable. It
Hmm.
truly has. And yeah, on our backyards, right? So for those maybe you're thinking, as the travel world opens up again, that you may not be, up for traveling to Europe and such like that. And, that's it. I'm done with international travel. And many of our guests will be feeling that way with river cruise, with ocean cruise with you. Okay, you got to get a bit of expedition in the way. But I just want to do something else. Well, here's 5 brand new itineraries for you to sail domestically and not have to
Hmm.
not have to travel across the
Hmm.
Atlantic. So
You can actually drive instead of, having to fly
you can
if you wanted to
fly.
take a
Yeah.
land tour.
Yeah, absolutely right. So and some of these are round trip if you were flying,
Hmm.
so to discover your own backyard. As I said, 21 years in the industry, ocean cruising. I've traveled, I've sailed the world in many aspects. I've got familiar with ocean itineraries. Then I joined Viking, enjoyed numerous river cruising itineraries, became familiar with those. And then, oh my goodness, the very country that I live in, and I know nothing about it. So this has been a remarkable time for me, getting the learning done as well. And I cannot wait. Well, I'll probably have to wait to get to experience this myself. It is going to be remarkable. The Mississippi in all her might, providing us 5 different itineraries, as we would see here. As you will see, it's a combination of 4 8-day itineraries and a 15-day itinerary. It goes without saying that nature is going to be the driver of these itineraries. Sailing in the section of the Mississippi where it is most comfortable at the time of the year. So it goes without saying, right? We're going to be avoiding the lower Mississippi basin during this hot, muggy, humid. I know we got a lot of Floridians on the call there this evening. Avoiding that at all costs, right? So those summer days when it's crisp and sunny up in the north reaches and the water's subsided so we can pass through under the bridges is where we're going to be enjoying our summers in America's heartland, sailing there from St. Louis to St. Paul and vice versa on those 8-day itineraries. And then when conditions cool and the humidity is gone, the stickiness is gone, then we got 3 remarkable itineraries in the lower Mississippi basin to enjoy. We're going to be looking at the New Orleans and Southern Charms itinerary. That is an 8-day New Orleans round trip itinerary, taking us north to Vicksburg and coming back down, enjoying Louisiana and the Bayou before returning down to New Orleans. The heart of the Delta we're going to be enjoying that during these wonderful spring, late spring, early summer months. So going into the winter months, into the early spring months, January to mid-June, and again from mid-October to November, traveling and enjoying then the cruises in the southern section again, from Memphis to New Orleans, and then during December, a celebration of the holidays. How are the holidays? How's December? How's Christmas and those celebrations enjoyed in the southern sections again? Again, a Memphis to New Orleans or New Orleans to Memphis during the month of December. But it was the transition cruise of America's Great River. It's that magical 15-day, right? Again, that 2-week experience we've been speaking about quite a lot this evening that took the marketplace by storm. Because it's a transition cruise, it's a kind of a repositioning. Obviously, we can't sail this all year round, as I mentioned. During the rainy seasons, we got the high waters in the north. We can't sail under the bridges. You don't want to be cruising down in Mississippi, Louisiana during the hot, sticky, humid months. So, we are limited. So when we announced this cruise back in April last year, we had one date because we're starting operations in the end of August, which will be in the north, and then making our way down for the winter season in the south. It sold out within 48 hours.
Hmm.
And it was like, oh, okay. So we had a team back at the planning office, and they said, okay, we could still fit in a couple of dates if we do this, do that. Okay, those sold out within another 72 hours. So we went ahead and we opened up 2023. Still very limited availability for the 8 days for next year, for next season. Very limited availability. So we moved forward. We opened up 2023 with 4 dates for the America's Great River. I know at last glance, 2 of the 4 were definitely 100% sold out, and I think the third was about to be. Still space on the 8 days for 2023. But the demand and the request have come to such a place that last week we actually opened up 2024
Hmm.
cruising. And we're in 2021. It's remarkable. It truly is remarkable. So we are so looking forward to launching this at the end of August next year. The ship was on time. Everything is good. COVID has not replied. We escaped hurricane season last year, so the ship is definitely on course for delivery. As you will see here, she's very non-traditional. You don't see a paddle wheeler on the front on the back of the vessel. She's a beautiful combination of our river ships in Europe that we looked at, the Viking longships. We looked at the lower deck, and above that, very much like the ocean ships, right? So decks 2 through 5 are the accommodation decks, looking very much like an ocean ship, which is purposely done. Same architects, same designers, same feeling as we have from a river to an ocean, and now to Mississippi. And you get that Viking feel throughout the vessel. Again, we spoke about the materials, right? The light woods, metals, glass. Again, no casino. Added public spaces to provide little areas to you to be seated and read a book, enjoy the scenery go by, so to speak, without ever feeling enclosed and really suffocated. The Aquavit Terrace looks a little bit different on this ship. I just brought this one up because we looked at the Aquavit Terrace on the Viking longship in Europe just now. Alternate dining venue, alternate preparation area for food. It's a combination of undercover as well as al fresco dining options. And then that little touch that we had on our ocean ships that is so popular as well, located in the very same position, upper deck aft. We have the wonderful infinity dipping pool here, which obviously is going to be enjoyed during those lovely summer months when we're sailing up in the northern reaches. And again, throughout the ship, multiple public areas and multiple places for you to be enjoying destination and discovery of the locations that we're traveling through or to or from. And just as all our other ships, multiple categories of accommodations. Truly believing there's something there for everybody who wants to join us on these vessels. No inside cabins. It's quite traditional for many other ships on the Mississippi to have inside cabins. There's nothing at the port. At the very minimum, you're going to have a sliding French door for your French balcony stateroom. Again, the majority of staterooms will be the sit-out verandas. And then we're going to have an array of our suites as well. So many ways of you to enjoy cruising, as you said, in your own backyard. So we're super excited. So again, it's just another addition to Cruising with Viking, and we cannot wait to start cruising again.